I'd like to call this meeting to order. This morning to start, or this afternoon to start, we'll start with the flag salute. Jacob, if you would lead us, please. Ready? Good.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Nice to see everybody on such a nice temperate day. Man. Well, I thank the fire department for bringing the water. That was very nice of you. We don't have normal communications here, so we need to speak up a little bit louder so everybody can hear us. And we have one mic. Is that the mic?
That's just a recorder.
Okay.
The only mic that we're using is this one, so you can try to direct that voice this way. That'd be great.
So we'll do what we can, whatever works out best. So is there any oral communication to be presented before this meeting today? Seeing none, we'll move forward. We have some new members. I think that one of them has been able to show up. Ray Armstrong. Ray Dean. I was get that wrong. And she's joined us along with a gentleman named Robert Falls. I don't see him here today. Hey. They sent contact information to him a couple of different ways. So I don't know how he communicates. So we'll have to. Good. Jerry? Oh, are you? So we're going to move through this first part relatively quick, because Jerry has to step out. He has a conflicting engagement, so we'll do a little bit earlier. But let's go ahead and do all the introductions. My name is John Billiard. Jerry Hall. Sean Byers. No, but we're on the outside.
City librarian.
Police department. I'm going to start back up here.
Jan Bogarts. Margaret Stinson. Angela Dennis. Nadine Stone.
Michael Lang. Javier Sanchez, engineer. Kim Costello, issue. Brian Cogburn, acting fire chief.
That one you do. And Javier.
Fernando. Fernando.
That's why you got to
Fernando gave.
So we'll move right on into the approval of the minutes. Have you guys had time to review the minutes? If you haven't, take 2 minutes. Have a motion? Is there a second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Passes. Next, we'll move into, and the way we do this, we combine measure H and I conversations in the same review. They're two separate measures, so we have them on there as two separate agenda items. So to start with, we'll start with Jerry.
Welcome to the new victims, members. Did you give them a little rundown on what our job is?
Not at all.
Are you going?
I haven't planned on it.
Okay, never mind.
But I can. You want me to?
Sure.
So we're here to purely as oversight. So we don't impact the choices that are made or the decisions that are made. That's all made by the people that are in charge. The department heads know what they need. They shop it around. Then their budgets and requests are all reviewed intensively by the finance department and a number of other elements. And then the purpose of the citizens oversight is to come in and look at it and see if it makes sense. And if it makes sense, then we say it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, we ask questions to the people that put it on paper and have them clarify questions.
We have also members of the board that are council committee that we're liaisons to various agencies that it's our task to oversee. I'm the liaison to the police department. Big Sean is fire department. Is Josh here? Is he still? You taking his spot? You have his liaison position, and you are the road department. Okay, and who is the library? Margaret. Margaret is. So what we do is when we get the information emailed to us, we review the entire document. And specifically, I focus on the police department. And for those of you who don't know, I have 35 years of prior law enforcement experience, and I still can't understand what we're talking about. But I have found that the police department, specifically as I review things, I'm very conscientious about making sure everything stays within the confines of Measure H and Measure I issues. If there's something, we usually have a meeting before this meeting. Chief Costello and I had a telephonic meeting because I've been pretty busy. He's a very busy man. But we did go over some things that he will articulate some slight anomalies on the report, which you can expect because they're a product of human labor. And for those of you who have looked at the report, you'll see that they're very, very comprehensive and very conscientious. They cover in detail. But sometimes they use abbreviations, acronyms, and things that won't necessarily be familiar to you. If you're a liaison and you're reviewing a document, either call someone and you don't understand it, either call someone who is a liaison or get with a member of the department who's responsible for it. And I guarantee you that you will get an explanation of what happened. There was just a few minor items from the police department, and Chief Costello is going to discuss those, how he discovered them and put his captains to work to fix things. Yeah, there's quite, not the acting chief, the real chief.
Real one.
He brought water with him. I'll bring it.
I brought Southern tea.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee and the new members. I did go over, this report with Mr. Hull on Measure H and Measure I and quarterly expenditure reports. We also discussed some of the ongoing projects at the police department. Different things, technology and new equipment that we recently implemented to increase safety in the city. I'm going to share some of those. I like to share some of those because, you know, one of the things that the police department is doing is we're trying to get that message out and communicate some of these things that we're doing in the police department and how can we get that message out on some of these projects that the taxpayers have helped us do by passing these measures, and we couldn't do without these measures. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the addition to our Axon body cameras and GPS systems. We've been working on a program for the last year that we just completed, which is Axon Fleet. This state-of-the-art camera system is now in all our patrol vehicles and detective vehicles. This platform allows us to enter vehicles, wanted persons associated with vehicles, stolen vehicles into a database as the officers or detectives are driving throughout the city. They pass or capture these license plates on vehicles, and sometimes they're stored over a 24-hour period, and a vehicle that wasn't entered as a stolen that we passed during that time, once it does, it pops up. And we've actually recently been able to connect over these last few months just because of the system that we would have normally seen a person pass, and it captures this in all these cars in the system that we have. We're able to go back and review videos and identify suspects with this platform. This system records all traffic stops, pursuits, pedestrian contacts, along with the body-worn cameras. It also helps us collect evidence for cases such as the ones I just discussed. All officers wear body-worn cameras, which record and document all the activity, and now this fleet system will also do that for the traffic stops. We're the first agency in this area, in the Central Valley, to have this fleet system in our car. We've been working on this project again for a year. The nearest agency, I believe, was Sacramento, that has this system. So we're very fortunate that these measures have helped us pay for this. It's not a cheap system, but it helps the citizens and the safety of this community. And I'll point out some of those in the report as I go through it. The next agency, I think, that's getting ready to implement this is by safety, and it's going to take them. I'll just talk to their chief about it. Another thing we're doing also in June of this year, we implemented a new program, which is called the Special Methods and Resources Team, or SMART. This will consist of a police corporal, which in this case is Corporal Tim Silva right now. We also will incorporate a crisis intervention specialist, which i.e. is a social worker. This is going to be specifically for persons experiencing homelessness and mental health incidents, or people that are having mental health issues. We're responding to the calls anyway, so we're trying to look at other options and look outside the box and just not put a Band-Aid on something, but also to help try to solve the issues that we're having in town, and help the people that actually want help. There is people out there in our community that do not want help and want to remain homeless. We will help them try to get those services with this new team. We're working with our partners with other police departments and sheriff's departments who have relied on HHSA or part-time staffing of their mental health units or their homeless units. They have the county assisting them part-time. We're fortunate that this new position with this new budget is going to be able to put this person in a car with a police officer and try to solve these problems in-house here in the city of Porterville, and that person is assigned to the Porterville Police Department, which makes it very, very fortunate for us to have this. Again, this intervention specialist will respond to calls regarding homeless, mental health related calls. We're going to provide resources such as social services, mental health services, medical services, needed medication, and try to find people permanent housing. So we're trying to solve this issue that we have for our citizens, and we thought, since we're the most visible, we're out there. The proposal I put together in this budget, which was approved, was to hire this person that we could get special training to work with an officer and get the people the help they needed to, and services for medical attention. Since July, we've contacted 25 persons stemming from calls for service in this area. 47 mental health referrals were done. Besides the calls, 5 people were given housing service referrals, and they were able to get some stable housing right now. And that's kind of the goal that we're getting at. If we can just help one person, this program's worth it. We also have been sending our officer to advanced officer training in this area for additional advanced training in mental health and crisis service. The next one that we are doing is we are currently recruiting a crime analyst position. This is to help in the area of predictive policing and try to figure out what crime is occurring, not just be, our department is extremely proactive, but again, not to be reactive and look at areas that we can improve on. And this analyst working full time in our department is going to be able to crunch numbers, use social media platforms and technology to investigate crime, to try to figure out where it's happening, instead of just responding to the calls, and we can figure out where crimes occurring. I think that will help. It also helps with some of our task force units that we're in with the Tulare County Sheriffs. We have a detective in the HIDA unit. We also have a detective in our target unit through DOJ. This will also help them. We'll use this resource to help these task force investigating gang members, organized cartel members, with the simple goal is to dismantle the leadership of these gangs and eliminate them from our communities. Again, we're using this analyst to use advanced technology that we have acquired at the PD and through these task forces, and she's going to be able to, or he, will be able to analyze data and crunch numbers to help us do some predictive policing. One of the new things we have 3 new canines. I know we introduced them at City Council a few weeks ago. One was extremely loud and made me nervous. I asked him to escort that 4-legged animal out because he was just really happy to see everybody apparently. So, but 2 of these canines are through Measure H, and it's canine Kendall. And I always want to say this next one with Enzo, but it's not. It's Enzo. Something very new that has never been done in Tulare County, which we're going to be again the first, is we have a dog specifically assigned to the school resource officer unit. This is Officer Scott. One of the reasons that we do that is, one, this dog is not your typical patrol detection canine. It's actually a Springer Spaniel. We've had a lot of stuff nationally that, the schools have been dealing with, not necessarily here, but anything we can do to look in the area of enhancing school safety. One of those ways was to add this detection canine, which has been trained specifically in detection of firearms, certain ammunition, and illegal narcotics. So not only is it a deterrent, but it's a non-apprehension dog, so it's friendly to from kindergarten all the way up through high school. And bringing this dog into the classrooms, the young kids get to pet it. It's just a friendly dog. This Springer Spaniel again has been certified in things that we thought we could enhance school safety. Anything we can do to prevent anything happening in any of our schools. It's available for both school districts and Portable College. She's there Monday through Friday, working these schools. Our other canine is handled by Officer Angelica Gonzalez. She's been here for a long time, but this is also another canine that is out on the streets on patrol that is under a Measure H officer's position. Just to wrap it up, Measure H and Measure I has absolutely increased our both fire and police, our safety in this community, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board has, and I can go through my report on some of the things that I saw that maybe somebody might have questions for that I did when I. Yes,
You mentioned the terms proactive and reactive. I think that might be interesting for those who are not aware of those 2 parts of law enforcement and how they differentiate.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I talk about reactive policing, that's going to calls for service. We're getting dispatched to a specific call for service. Officers getting a call, go here. Proactive policing is where they're actually going out and trying to prevent crime. Somebody that is out driving around under the influence of alcohol or drugs, stopping them, taking them off the street. Obviously, it's a crime, but also increasing the safety of the community. Also, in the area of traffic, that's a proactive approach where we're writing traffic tickets. Misconception about, and Jerry, you'll know this, is about traffic tickets is they think we get the PD gets revenue off of those. It costs us more to buy the books of tickets that we do for officers than what we would get back from the state, right? So the reason that we do that proactive approach for traffic and our traffic unit is to prevent traffic collisions. to look for people under the influence of drugs, alcohol, driving around and get them off the street. Also, our high collision areas that somebody's running lights or stop signs where we're having injury traffic collisions all the time and or fatal traffic collision, just to prevent that. How do you do that? And you enforce the traffic light and stop sign traffic tickets. So those are several approaches. Our task force are proactive. They're going after cartel members, they're going after drug dealers and gang members in our community and our surrounding community. That's why we have 2 people in these different task force, which are really doing a very good job. The fentanyl case that the judge let the individuals out on, right? That was our detective. He was assigned to the sheriff's department's hiding unit, but that was our detective that did that case. Porterville PD's detective did that case on 99. And it's extremely frustrating for us to see that when we have somebody in there and the hard work that these people are doing in this task force, to see these individuals released from the ship. And the sheriff echoed that in his statements.
In regards to those 2 things, so I think people need to realize, and I know I'm not the only one, probably no one in this room that doesn't drive around and see things. How come there's never a cop when you need one? Unfortunately, due to the nature of the job, the reactive phase of it takes up so much more time that they don't always have the time that they would like to have to be proactive. You see people running stop signs, speeding, drag racing. Those are things that a proactive approach would ideally be there to prevent that sort of thing. But because they get so many calls, who has not had to call in the police department and they tell you, as soon as we can get an officer free, we'll have him there. Unfortunately, it's the nature of it. We'll spend more time reacting to things that they ideally should be.
Absolutely.
Citizens Police Academy. I just took it.
Yeah, not only the Citizens Academy, or any adult that you just want to get you for that, but we also do the juvenile academy too. So we can teach them about what our community is doing, what the police department's doing, what the DA's office does, what the sheriff's office does, how we interact with each other, how close our departments actually are. This gives the kids that are going to school and looking at these career paths an eye-opening experience also. And then obviously we have this a couple times a year, and it does, 7 weeks of doing some stuff at the PD and showing everything that we do and the tools we have and why and how we got them is an eye-opening experience. So thank you for that.
On your, sounds like you have a lot of stuff that's leading edge here, with the fake cams and some of the K9 unit with the firearms. I've heard that. That's great.
We actually have 2. We have dual purpose K9s, both for searching for lost people or criminal suspects that are hidden, and they're usually dual purpose. We have one that's out on the street that's dual purpose for patrol and narcotics, usually 4 or 5 cents. We're adding fentanyl, which is it's hard for that one, right? Because of the dangerous drug, not only that it's going to be for the dogs too, but we also have one of the only bomb detection dogs in the county right now. And then obviously we have another dog that's on patrol that is patrol and firearms also. And this dog, we actually, first time there's ever been a dog that's been assigned to an officer in a school setting. But again, we were trying to think outside the box of whatever we can do to enhance that school security and safety. Questions I had with both districts, my command staff, and supervisory staff on how we can do this. And this was one of those things that we came up with. Instead of increasing personnel staff, salary staff, or adding more officers, what else can we do besides put guards in every school? Let's walk the dog around and be surprised on what they can smell and we can't. So
How expensive is a canine fully trained canine?
right now, to get a dog certified dual purpose with the training is about 18,000. With these trainings and purchase of these new dogs, we were fortunate enough that we were able to obtain an anonymous donor that donated the cost of the canine and the training and the equipment. So it was no cost out of either one of these budgets. It was an anonymous donor. I know. But
Thank you very much.
yeah. It's so, and they donated 30,000.
Your fleet cams, does the picture just go to the front, or does it go front and back? Does it go sides? How does that
Front,
work?
back, sides, inside the car. If there's a suspect in the car, it records the whole time that and it can be, so the system's pretty complex, but it's basically the video and cameras around the whole car and inside the car. The primary is obviously the front dash cam, but it has plate readers that you can't see on the four corners of on the car, and there's also a camera that faces inside. So if there's a conversation between the officer and the suspect that's in the vehicle, or if the officer is not in the vehicle, he can remotely access that camera. So video, even at night, you can see what the suspect or whoever's in the vehicle is doing, and it also reports any statements if there's two. We actually have this system set also to not regulate the officer's speed, but it will send an alert to our watch commander if a police unit is going over a certain speed. So we know that we're making sure that our personnel is driving safe. Obviously, it's activated by how fast they're driving, or they manually activate their lights. Everything turns on. The cameras record all the time. So we can go back 24 hours if something happens, if an officer got in a crash or was hit or a suspect, we can go back on a 24-hour loop and view any and all that video. And it also has the ability of the watch commanders or the captains, if they get an alert on their desktop or their cell phone, say a pursuit is initiated, they can manually look at that pursuit instantly from their desk or their phone to see if all policies and procedures are being followed by the officers real time.
Is there any other questions for the chief?
Yes,
Are you guys putting in traffic cams?
you want to?
Well, I just wondered what's going up on the
So
I
I can probably talk to
Newcomb and well, it looked like cameras on Newcomb and Olive out there.
Well, let's wait until we get to your portion.
They're not traffic cams, but
Oh.
Javier can speak on that.
They're cameras, but for the purpose of video detection, they take the place of the loop detectors in the pavement.
Oh,
Yeah, so it just gets an image to know that, hey, there's a car coming, that send the call to the signal, to such unit up.
they need traffic cams.
We have used those cameras to solve some cases over traffic. We can get the video, but just not for tickets.
They have a lot of questions on
I wish they would, but
that. Wish they would. Yeah.
You'd be the first one to get caught.
Yeah. Oh, my wife.
yeah, Valerie would.
Yeah, but she could settle out of court.
Any other questions for the chief? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I apologize for leaving early. I got here late.
Have fun.
So next, I'd like to talk, I'd like to have Sean talk to the fire.
Yeah, I spoke with acting chief Audrey yesterday. We looked over, I went over the budget, we talked about that. Everything seems to be in order as it normally is, and really, nothing more to report, issue up. I know he's been real busy, doing different things for the library fires. I was visited several different fire, different cities, explaining and debriefing on that. So It's been my busy weekend.
No, I appreciate that. Thanks, Sean. Yeah, Sean and I discussed yesterday, the budget went over the items in there and, yeah, so to just kind of highlight what Sean was expressing, we, myself, Chris Bassani, who's acting battalion chief, and a couple of members of the SART team, from the library fire investigation, have been going around to different agencies, just educating them on the effects of the library fire, how it's impacted our department, and how we've overcome a lot of those issues that we've been faced. I can say that to tie it back to Measure H and Measure I, Measure H and Measure I have provided us funding to help accomplish some of those things with items that have been identified within the SAR report, whether it's equipment, apparatus, things of that nature. We've been able to overcome those with the support of Measure I and Measure H. And just like Chief Costello, I can echo with you know, the funding for Measure H and Measure I allow us to do our job more effectively and more efficiently. 16 by personnel come from Measure H and Measure I, as well as a substantial amount of that budget, which allows me to address things that shortcomings we
have we completed the requirements for the SAR report?
Some of them are ongoing. Some are going to take several years. I would say we're probably close to over 50% with the recommendations. Even after we complete the recommendations, I can tell you, I work closely with members of the Fresno Fire Department. They had a member that fell through a roof several years ago. You guys probably saw it. It was caught on video camera. Captain Dern fell through the roof in a garage fire. Even with their SAR report, they have 10 years ago are now revisiting it and saying, okay, are we still upholding the recommendations? So it's going to be an ongoing process if we want to revisit on a regular basis. Part of the issue that we run into with completing some of the recommendations are supply chain issues, right? Getting equipment, getting things in place. A lot of it is organizationally restructuring and creating things that help support the SAR report. So I would say we're well over 50% with completion. Hopefully we'll be able to be fully completed within the 5-year mark.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Chief or Sean? Thanks very much for your reports. Next, I'd like to go to Angela.
Yes. I would like to begin by thanking Mike Knight and Javier Sanchez for taking the time to go over the street program and the capital project budget Measure I. Mike is responsible for the street maintenance and Javier supervises road reconstruction projects. Although this period covers the end of the fiscal year, it only represents the beginning of paving season. For that reason, the bulk paving expense does not show up in this quarter. There has been no significant increase in asphalt expenses because the city supplier guarantees the price for a 1-year contract. There are some variants in transport costs because of availability issues that force the city to take delivery from 2 different plants. So this measure allows to pay for 3 additional staff members' salaries for road maintenance. I requested clarification about the $16,000 applied to begin restoration and whether this project qualified for Measure I funding. According to this department, this is a qualified application of Measure I funds. The item in question was for drought tolerant landscaping in the center dividers for the sections of Henderson and Olive. But overall, I did not find any inappropriate or irregular spending for Measure I. The department appears to be very helpful and transparent in their accounting practices, and I look forward to continuing to work with them.
Only I would add to the street maintenance is we'll be doing some AC hot paving out in the area of the airport towards the middle of September and the first week of October. And we can coordinate and communicate to the committee should you choose to come out and see that operation. We would extend an invitation to come out and see how that operation works. So the communication, shoot out an email, anybody that's interested in participating that day, or if the specific day that we choose, if that doesn't work out, we'll be out there for a period of time. So we can provide a window of opportunity to participate and see that operation in action. So just want to extend that. I appreciate the member Angela Venus's time. She was very thorough, had a lot of good questions, and I'll be answering the best for our ability.
Please send that to everybody. Sorry, I think we were Probably start early in the morning, I'm guessing.
Yeah, usually we start pretty early. We start around 5 o'clock in the morning, staff getting out. But usually we're on site through about noon, 1 o'clock. By the time they're wrapping everything up, so we can accommodate a mid-morning, if that works out. And like I said, we'll be out there for probably about 4 weeks. So if that time that we propose doesn't work out, we can, take smaller groups and do a couple different opportunities for that.
It'd be good to pick a time, so we don't kind of dribble out there throughout the day.
As we get closer to the schedule, I'll make sure, because things change with asphalt delivery and that sort of thing. So as we get closer, I'll shoot out a couple dates that work and times, and then get a response back from me.
That at this time. Okay. Is there anything from the group would like to ask each other? Okay. Thank you. Next, I'd like to go to literacy. Margaret.
But if you look in the thing, it's all the money. I was here, I was saying as it was.
Yesterday, and I have nothing to add to her report, just it was great to find that anomaly of the double payment to that vendor, because of later in the year when you're looking at a few things, but the vendor was very responsive, so I feel great about that. You're the vendor that lives that backdrop for us, so before opening. So, welcome to the temporary library. It's 8,000 square feet, and I would be happy to take you on a brief tour, I guess, if you will, if you'd like to. And I can tell you a few things. One of the things that I was most surprised by and wasn't expecting to be installed at opening was the reed signs, the wood panels that survived the fire. And so because I wasn't expecting it to be installed before July 1, I didn't have the little narrative written. So there's a little narrative there that pays tribute to our fallen heroes, and to let any member of the community, because libraries are far reaching. So it's not uncommon that we get visitors from LA who are on their way to Yosemite, stopping by just to come into a public library to use a computer to do whatever business they may need to do. And because of our great accessibility and hours, we're hoping that they come by and they see that read sign and wonder what it's about, and that they take a moment to read it. So tonight, if you get a chance to read it, please do so. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, is your attendance picked up? I mean, is it growing or?
Yes, well, it's what I've noticed is people don't come out when it's hot, like really hot. It was school back in session, and some of us are here tonight, our parents, and so some of our children are in extracurricular activities. So it's not uncommon that we'll get an influx of foot traffic on Saturdays when parents are, ready to go. Are right about 7:30 even here, because they want to come in and get the resources they need. So as far as the traffic, we have a door counter that the software wasn't ready on July 1, but it was ready like mid-July. So I don't really have any good data, but I can tell you we made nearly in the month of July, we made almost 900 new library cards for new library users, and we circulated almost 5,000 materials. Yeah. So I know, right? Yeah. So I have to say that I was a little concerned because
I've been in the library business since 1995. And I was concerned because we went from the fire to the pandemic. And then when we were in the pandemic, all of our little kids, the kindergarten to third graders, became digital learners. So I was worried that they would be more digital reading, but know that they're coming in with their families to get their books that they missed the hold and touch. And so I'm still waiting to wait out for the school year to start. So I'm waiting to see what that looks like in 6 months. Will it die down, or will the love of reading still survive? I guess is in my librarian words, basically. But no, I'm happy to answer any questions that the two talk members have.
I was wondering what the total spend. Each year.
Well, so fire insurance covered all the costs, including the book collection, because we needed a new startup collection. I don't have a number off the top of my head. I mean, furniture was under $400,000. The sign was $10,000. The computer infrastructure was about $60,000. So probably close to $1 million, probably. The new library, depending on when it's going to be built, the new library is going to be designed in a way, so it means this aesthetic here may not fit the footprint of what we're going for the aesthetic over there. However, because I've been a government employee for a long time, I do see like the things that we can repurpose, like the metal cabinets here, or the cabinets, the lockers in the staff break room. There are some things that will withstand the abuse of the public that we may be able to take and repurpose into a new facility. But since I don't know when that new facility is going to be built, I can't really say for sure if we'll be able to take the children's furniture that gets a little grimy, so if that answers your question. Yeah, we can provide it. I can send it out an email. That's
Just curious.
okay. Thank you. You're welcome.
Further questions? Thank you very much for your response. So we need to have a motion for acceptance. We have a second. Thank you. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. Okay. So, we need to schedule our next meeting. I'm not, for some reason, we changed it to Thursday nights. There was some kind of a conflict, I thought, last time we scheduled it. Jerry has a conflict on Thursdays. So if we could, I don't know if we can do it on Wednesday, as a conflict on Wednesday too. So he's available on Tuesdays. Is Tuesday a conflict there? I'm sorry?
That's my one thing.
The only thing there is how would be the council meetings.
Oh, yeah.
That's on Tuesdays, okay.
So just around those.
Yeah, we're on a different Tuesday, aren't we? Of the week. But when's the council meeting? Third, and we usually have this on the third week. So that's what the conflict is. Well, maybe Jerry can kind of start a little bit later, like he's doing tonight. He's taking on Thursday. So we're in August, September, October, November. So it would be third week of November. That's Thanksgiving, right? So we obviously don't want to do that. Do we usually meet the week before Thanksgiving? Is that what we usually do? So the 17th, what does that look like for everybody? 17th of November, it's on a Thursday. Does that work? Okay. November 17th. And to keep with the same theme of moving everything around, I'd like to, if Chief, could we meet at your place?
Absolutely.
Are you gonna be in town then?
I will be.
Okay. You got a really cool training center. Is that where you'd have this?
That will accommodate us. Yeah, it'd be a great place for school.
Would that be your recommendation?
And it would be, yes.
Yeah, we've had it there.
Have we? I've been to it once. They first opened it, but never since.
We've had a couple, 2 or 3 meetings out there. haven't we?
Okay, I know we've had at least one. Yeah.
So let's move that up to the training center. Does everybody know where that is?
500 North Newcomb,
Fire station too.
fire station 2.
It's kind of an interesting place. They do a lot of training for people in the regional side. And I'll let them talk about it a little after. That's definitely worth the time for a tour. It's gonna be dark when we're out there afterwards. We try to tour it beforehand.
We do, yeah, we can accommodate whatever the group needs.
We can do it at night, when it's dark or light.
So we have lighting out there, so we can
We still do that.
do the tour.
All right, very good. And then we also will, that'll be the end of a very, very long term for me. So we need to talk about moving things around a little bit, changing up this, the liaison teams. If we want to, you guys think about what you might want to do and what teams you might want to be on. If anybody wants my job, that could be available too. Please. So give some thought to that. That'll be for the next meeting. I'm sorry we didn't have Jerry. Is that his name? Robert. Call him Jerry. Robert, can you make sure that he's can attend? Okay, because he has transportation, right? And you guys, Chief, you wheelchair access, none of that's a problem, right?
Not a problem.
Okay, well, did I get everything? I think I got everything. Yeah. So is there anything else for the good of the group? If not, thank you for your time. We'll adjourn this meeting.